So, finally I get to meet the man, the myth, the legend, Robbie Alexander of the world famous YouTube channel Robbiefishing. Yes, world famous. Hello Robbie, good to meet you finally in the flesh. Robbie's kindly agreed to do a short interview with me and I hope to find out a little bit more about him, hopefully things that will be of interest to his many subscribers. So here we go. So Robbie, we occasionally see your dad feature in your videos.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that was him that got you started. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, he was probably my greatest influence because he was my dad and he took me fishing all the time. But then there was his uncles and his uncles, which are my great uncles and grandparents. I was just born into a fishing family from both sides, my mum's side and my dad's side. But ultimately it was my dad that took me the most as a kid, yeah.
Now I'd also like to give credit to your photography, very impressive. I love your photos that you take. And I should also mention Loretta's Funky Facebook, is that right?
Loretta's Funky Photos
Facebook page,
yeah.
Yes. Some amazing images. I guess being outdoors allows you to combine photography and fishing.
Absolutely. I've always loved fishing. I was born into a fishing family, but I wasn't born into a photography family, and I started enjoying photography. I always wanted to have a camera. My auntie bought me one when I was 10 or 11 years old or something, and I just loved photography. Then, as I got older and I started working and got my own money, I started buying my own cameras, and then digital came along in about 2002. I think I bought my first digital camera, and I've just always loved photography. The video aspect that I use for YouTube is something that's only come along in recent years, but photography is a passion that I've had for a very long time. And it was me that got Loretta into photography. She'd never even held a camera before we met, and now she's just amazing.
Well, your love for it and your experience definitely shows, no doubt about that.
I love creative photography, doing star trails and sunsets and stuff like that.
I'll make sure that I post the links to those pages too in the video description when I get back, because I think your followers will benefit from having a look if they don't already.
Yeah, wonderful.
Right, I have to say, and I have, that I'm extremely envious of the scope and the variety of freshwater fishing available in Victoria and the many places that you can go. Your stocking program is outstanding, more than can be said for ours. Firstly, what's your favourite location to fish, and secondly, what type of fish do you like catching the most?
They are questions that have haunted me all my life. You know, I can't settle. I just cannot settle. I feel blessed every day for living here in Wangaratta, where I've got the Ovens River right there, and that's probably my favourite fishing spot. I love it. But then again, I love Lake Buffalo and Lake William Hovell. Yep. And as far as species, I just love them all for different reasons. I love being able to walk the banks fishing for Murray cod. I love the excitement of even small cod buffing my surface lure near my feet next to a log jam on the bank of a quiet creek with nobody around me. I tend to stay away from bigger lakes and stuff with heaps of boats on the water. They're not really my thing. No. I just love the quietness of the small waters. I love skinny water cod fishing, but then I love being up in the hills in the clear water chasing trout. The nights are cooler, the grass is greener, the water's fresh. I just love it all. I just love the lot. Then there's yabbies. Let's throw yabbies in the mix.
Why not?
I love catching yabbies. There's just something so exciting about pulling the net up and seeing whether there's anything in it, even if it's only been in the water for about 1 minute.
What? Not one of those impatient checks?
I caught 5 yabbies on an impatient check last week. I was in for about 2 minutes.
Well, funnily enough, I had someone respond to one of my videos that I did over on Kangaroo Island a couple of years ago on marron. Yeah. And he said that he liked, he's American, he said he liked crayfish, marron and yabby videos. So I said, well, have a look at Robbiefishing. He says, oh, I do all the time. He said, he always catches yabbies. All right, okay, so I know Wangaratta's a long way inland, but have you ever fished in salt water?
I've got 1,600 videos on my YouTube channel, and 2 of them are saltwater.
2.
I've got one down at Corio Bay at Geelong. I was fishing with my awesome friend Scotty Turnbull. We were out on his boat, and we were catching, I think we caught a couple of snapper and small flathead.
I reckon I've seen that.
Yeah, and we've got, and there's one where I was fishing with young Zeppelin Allen, and we weren't actually out offshore, we were in an estuary catching bream.
Yes.
And when I got home from there, I got the photo of my bream and I put it on my Facebook page and I said, here's a nice silver perch that I caught at Merriwa Park this morning, and a few people were scratching their heads, but a few called me out too.
Yes, well, I saw your response to Starlow's flathead picture about not catching any flathead at Wangaratta yet.
Yeah.
Had a laugh about that.
Yeah, no, I really do enjoy saltwater fishing,
Yeah.
but it's so far away, and people
Absolutely.
say, make more saltwater fishing, I want to see you do more saltwater, and I'd love to, but I've got kids and I'm 4 hours from the saltwater. It's hard just to pack up and go away for a few days and leave a family behind. So yeah, I will do more. I do enjoy doing it, and I do have ambitions to get back down. Even just fishing off jetties, I love that. I've got to do more of it, and it's something that I enjoy, but I am being so far away, it just makes it hard.
Yeah, sure. I've seen criticism of you on your YouTube pages from time to time for keeping the odd native fish to eat, but I think people sometimes tend to forget the literally thousands of fish that you catch and then release. Why is catch and release important to you?
I think I've seen firsthand what catch and release does. I've caught the same fish multiple times. I've caught fish that have been caught before. They've got the damage in their mouth or something where someone's had trouble getting the hook out. So I know that catch and release is vital to protecting the fish. Yeah. Take our Murray cod, for example. They're protected up until 55 centimetres. Then they're vulnerable to harvest from 55 to 75. Then they're protected again. Yeah. So for that, could be anywhere between 3, 4, 5, up to 7 or 8 years. They can be unprotected in that slot. And I just think if everyone keeps all their fish, they're not going to grow into that 75 centimetre size to be protected. So we need to put them back to ensure that some grow to be big and spawn for the future. But at the same time, I think it's very important to get the message out there that it is okay to keep a couple as well.
Oh yeah.
There's a sign, there's a saying that I like. Limit your kill, don't kill your limit.
Yes.
So in other words, keep 1 or 2 if you want to feed, but you don't have to keep every legal fish.
No.
That's my my message anyway.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody make you feel guilty about keeping a fish, but just be mindful that the more we keep, the less big ones there's going to be to spawn down the track.
Absolutely. Given the huge amount of rain and the major flooding that Victoria has suffered this year, how do you think this will affect the fishing in both the short and long term?
Excellent in every sense of the word. I think it's wonderful. I suppose not every sense. The carp, there's been a bit of an explosion of carp caused by the floods, and that's a downside. But I honestly believe that nature will sort that out. I think that nature will help that all balance out, and in areas where habitat is good for native fish, the carp will slowly thin right out. In areas where the waterway is not managed well, where there's not a lot of habitat, and the carp are going to thrive. But the trout, I think it's going to be great for the trout. It's given them more water. They can swim downstream further. They can spawn better this autumn. We've got good stream flows already, and we're about to head into autumn, so the trout are going to be able to spawn. We've seen fast growth rates of a lot of fish because there's a lot of food in the system, especially trout. The yellow belly love a flood, especially a warmer water flood, so they would have spawned a lot during the November, December floods, and the Murray cod love a spring flood. So I've seen there's going to be a lot of spawning from all species, and the yabbies, there's been an explosion in yabbies. We've got all these ephemeral lakes, which are lakes that are dry and wet, and they go through cycles of holding water and being dry. They've filled up, and the yabbies have just come back from nowhere, and that's not only is that good for us, but that's a food source for other fish as well. So there's an old saying, water brings life. And I think that these wet years are just critically important to the fisheries.
Got him, lost him, done him. I'm having an absolute blast. Gone. You beauty. See you later, mate. I'm on the board. These are just a few of the catchphrases that can be heard on your channel, and in fact feature in nearly every video that you make. Do you actually realise how often you say those things?
Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. There's some story, the gone. That's something that Brett done, my friend Brett Corker. Yeah. He used to do that, and I used to like it, and now we both sort of say gone. Yeah. You know, and there's a lot of sayings and stuff that people use that I don't. I'm not a follower. Yeah. I don't do the whole yo that you see so many. I don't, or get the dogs. You know, I don't do any of that. I've got my own ways. The see you later, mate, is a funny thing. I was watching a YouTube interview with an old bikie from the Banditos years ago, and they said to him, in your day, Snake, what would happen if one of your bikie members patched over? And he said, oh, you know, we'd give him a hiding. What would that entitle, Snake? Oh, I don't know, broken arms, legs, jaw, drop him off at St Vincent's Hospital and say, see you later, mate. And it was just a really candid way in which he said it that stuck with me, and that's why when I put the fish back, I always say, see you later, mate.
Yeah. No, well, I think if anyone was watching your channel with just the video, just the sound, they would know exactly who'd made the video. Speaking of Brett Corker, rumour is it that you might have done a corker yourself. Can you explain what that means, and more to the point, will you admit to it?
A corker is when a fishing rod gets pulled into the river by a fish. It's been happening forever, since fishing rods were invented. But it was Brett that made it famous, I think, because we were down the river in one of my videos, and I said, your rods don't look safe there, mate. He says, oh, they'll be right. No, they're only crap rods anyway. I don't like these rods anyway. And next minute, you hear this splash. My rod's gone, my rod's gone. And he took so long trying to fish this rod out. He even put a lipless crankbait lure on. It was the middle of spring. We were yellow belly fishing with bait. And he put this little lipless crankbait on to try and jag his rod. Then he dragged a cod in the process, trying to jag the fishing rod. He caught a cod. And
that's fair trade.
But then he done it. Then about a couple of months later, we were fishing with my dad and my uncle Gary. And the same thing happened. A fish pulled his rod in the water. So he put on got a second rod with a spinnerbait on it. This was cod opening a couple of years ago. And he made 2 or 3 casts to try and get it out. He lost 2 spinnerbaits trying to fish out his fishing rod. He put his last spinnerbait on. He finally hooked the fishing rod. He grabbed it and he's yay, yay! And as he lifted it out of the river, he snapped the tip off it with his hand. My dad said, that's the rod you've got when you haven't got a rod.
Yeah, exactly.
I did do it a couple of years ago. I had a fishing rod pulled in, but thankfully I was able to pull it back out. But I have over the years said goodbye, said see you later, mate, to a couple of fishing rods.
Yeah, right. Well, I like that rod holder that you, one of your friends made.
Simon.
Yes, that's
it is a
cool.
ripper. He is one of the nicest people that I've met along my journey as a fisherman with my YouTube channel. Simon is just a wonderful, beautiful man. And that rod holder, it's easy to strike. It's not foolproof. A fish can still pull the rod in. It's just a bit harder for it. It just buys you that bit of extra time to get down there and save it. And it's saved me a few rods over the last couple of years.
This isn't a question, but more an observation from me and many others. The Hey You introduction.
Yeah.
Right, I know you like to mix it up every now and again, but that is a classic. Don't ever change it.
Thank you so much for saying that, because I actually get so much feedback on that. So many people love it, but then I hate that introduction. It's not you, it's too aggressive. And it makes me think, should I get rid of it? Is it time to go? So then I'll throw up something different. And every time I throw up something different, I get, where's your hey you? Bring back the hey you. And
yeah, well, the hey you is like, it's in your face when you first see it, and then there's the big smile and, you know.
Yeah, it's like rags to riches sort of thing, you know.
No, it's great.
Chaos to calm.
And I'm sure I'm only echoing what many other people think about that as well.
What happened, I watched other YouTube videos and it dawned on me the amount of times I'd skip through people's introductions. I'd make a 30 or 40 second introduction showing off all their great catches and whatever, and I'd play the video and I'd skip through it. And I think, I don't want people to have to skip through it, so I need something that's really, really short. Mine was 15 seconds at the time, and it was made by Steve Ransley in Tasmania. It was a great intro, but it was too long. I think longer introductions are for YouTube, are for TV. I need something that's only 4 or 5 seconds and punchy, you know. So
oh, it's punchy. Stick with it. Now, these worms that you use all the time, Robbie, what are they called?
Jan Juck worms.
Jan Juck worms. I hope you get a free supply.
Oh, absolutely. They look after me really well. Wonderful people down there at Jan. And they're great worms. They're fat. They're lively. I'm so happy to have them in my corner.
Yeah. Why do you keep forgetting your landing net?
There's a funny story. I'm not so bad now. I went through a stage
you
where
certainly did.
This was the story, and I didn't say this on my channel at the time. I had 2 cars. I had a Mazda and a Jackaroo. And sometimes I'd go fishing in the Mazda, sometimes I'd go fishing in the Jackaroo, and I'm forever moving stuff from car A to car B and car B back to car A, and I just forget to bring stuff. But I'm a forgetful person. Doing what I do, like, people don't realise the amount of work that I put into my YouTube channel. It's probably 70 hours a week or more. That includes the fishing and the fun parts. But when you include the fishing and the fun and the editing and the replying to emails, of which I've got a stack at home now to reply to, the catching up and replying to people's comments and helping people.
Absolutely.
And even do this sort of stuff now, sitting down for interviews and stuff, I probably put in 70 hours a week.
Yes.
And
well, I'm going to ask you about your YouTube channel in a minute.
Yeah, and naturally when you're doing that many hours, you get a bit airheaded and forget stuff. But it's not just fishing. Even when the amount of times I've been out taking photos and forgotten memory cards and your flat batteries, Loretta's even worse.
Okay, Victorians are often referred to as Mexicans in a rather derogatory sense by people from other states.
Yeah.
How well do you speak Spanish?
Donde está Americana, señorita? That means take me to the American embassy, love, or darling, or lady.
Ah, okay, well that's impressive.
That's the end of it. That's all I know.
Oh.
That's I don't know. I've got a Spanish-speaking friend.
Say Madrid or Barcelona.
That's about it. I've got a Spanish-speaking friend. Big shout out to my friend Cello. But no, I don't speak Spanish.
How did you initially get involved for making fishing videos for YouTube?
I've been a magazine journalist for a long time, since about 2007, 2008. And I just noticed that the digital media was taking over, and someone said to me once, you should start making videos. And I can't remember whether it was Brett or someone else. So I just started making a couple of fishing videos. Next thing you know, people started loving them, people started watching them, and the more people watched, the more I felt inspired to keep making them, and it just grew from there, snowballed from there.
You've got, what, nearly 70,000 subscribers?
Yeah, 60 something, I think, yeah.
Doing really well. Better than my 580. And Rowan's 7,000 and something. We did talk about that. A while back you announced that you were going to become a full-time YouTuber, and I bet a lot of people thought that that would be the ideal job.
Yep.
I also bet that the reality is perhaps a little different in terms of the pressure to produce content, keeping up your subscriber numbers, responding to comments, video views, all the rest of it. Because obviously you have to maintain a point where it's viable. Is the gloss starting to wear off a bit?
Not at all. I love it. I can't get enough of it. The fishing part of it's the best part of the job.
Yeah.
But like all jobs, there's a downside to it. Some of the people you've got to deal with, I get abused quite a bit because people don't like the fact that you're successful. You know, I saw just last night on a Facebook post by Victorian Fisheries, they were advertising that Paul Worsling is going to be speaking at the fishing expo, and somebody commented, who's paying him? I bet he's being paid to be there. And my first thing is, well, of course he is. That's his job. Yeah. That's what he does for a living. And that's the sort of mentality that we've got to live with. It's a negative-minded people that think that we should just do everything for free and not get paid. But at the end of the day, that's his job, just like this is my job. Yeah. Paul and I've never met Paul, but we have a similar career path. Yeah. And we, so there is a dirty side of the job, and that is dealing with those types of people that just expect you to do everything for free. Yeah. But it is an amazing career.
Like me.
No, not at all. But it's an amazing career, and I've met some wonderful people like you and Simon, the fishing rod holder. There's so many wonderful people that I've met over this, and look, I love the upside to it is working for myself. Yes. If I don't feel well, I've got a headache or something, I don't have to ring in sick. I can just turn my alarm off and go back to bed. And I'll often get up early in the morning at say 5 o'clock. I'll go fishing and I'll be home by 10 o'clock in the morning, then I'll edit until sort of 2, and that's a day's work done. Yeah. Then later that night, I'll publish the video and reply to comments. One of the big keys to success is you've got to view it as work. Yeah. There's parts of this job that I don't want to do. Like at the moment, I've got a mountain of emails to reply to, but I've got to do it. It's my job. That's part of my job. My job isn't just to go fishing, then push a magic button and the video goes up on YouTube and people can watch it. No. I've got to edit all those videos. Yes. I'm constantly buying new camera gear because I'm wearing stuff out. Those headbands that they go through, GoPro, I go through about 3 of them a year because my fat head stretches them. But that's work. I've got to go down to Harvey Norman. I've got to buy the stuff. That's all work related. But I wouldn't change it for the world. I absolutely love it.
I have to say, your passion absolutely comes through, and I think there are a lot of people out there who really appreciate what you do.
And lately, I've been fishing probably 2 or 3 times a week without the camera. Yes. Just because I just can't get enough of it. I love being out the river fishing. Holly and I have been catching some really nice silver perch lately. I've got a few photos, but I haven't been filming. It's just filming or not filming, I just love it all, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's just, and that's, I see a lot of people creating YouTube channels because I think they're going to be able to do it for a living and make money out of it. But the passions, you can't be money driven. No. You've got to be driven by the passion to love fishing and love helping other people, and then being paid for that comes afterwards.
One of the things that impresses me most about your channel, Robbie, is the rapport that you have established with your younger fan base, and the role modelling that you demonstrate, and the efforts that you go to recognise them in terms of their fishing exploits, and for the stuff that they send you through your mailtime segment, and even occasionally fishing with them. I reckon that makes you a very likely Father of the Year candidate. What do you have to say about that?
To be a Father of the Year? Well, I already think I'm Father of the Year to my kids. Look, I love kids. Kids are the best. I'm a volunteer with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, I wanted to do something. I wanted to volunteer to give something back, and I thought, well, you know, I love animals, I love this, I love that, but kids are probably what I'm the most passionate about. They're harmless. There's no ego. They don't bang themselves on the chest. They're just happy. They go fishing, they catch a carp or a redfin or something small. They don't say, oh, that's only a tiny one, I can do way better. There's none of that. They're just happy to be out there catching fish, just like me, and that's why I guess I relate to them.
Yeah.
And I was like them when I was that age.
Yeah.
I would have given anything to meet Rex Hunt when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And now I know him personally. He taught me to fly fish. I speak to Rex on a regular basis, and we're quite good friends. But I'm giving kids the what's the word? The handout that I wanted at that age, where they can communicate, and I just love working with kids. Kids are the best.
Well, as a teacher in another life, I totally see what you're doing, and I think you do a great job, and I have said so in reply to some of the things that I've seen. Remember that video that you did not that long ago where you went to New South Wales to that lake, I can't remember.
Lake Kajalligo.
That's the one. And that particular young man,
Nathan,
you made his, not just his day, probably his life.
Well, as we sit here, it's the middle of February. That was back in September, so that's December, January, February... October, no, I forgot a couple. Yep. October, November, December. So 5 months ago. Yeah. And just 2 days ago, Nathan's still sharing video footage from that trip on his YouTube channel. I saw my hand releasing a redfin on his YouTube channel. Yeah. He's a ripper. Nathan and his brother Matt. Big shout out to Matt and Nathan McCready.
Yes,
terrific young fellas.
I've watched a few of his videos and commented on them, and he actually watches some of mine from time to time as well, which is good. Well, Robbie, I think that's enough interrogation. Thank you for your time today. Your channel is clearly about putting the fun into fishing.
Absolutely.
And hopefully your subscribers have received a little bit of an insight into what makes you tick.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Frank. And that's my motto from the start, has been focusing on the fun aspect of fish. I don't focus on the biggest fish. I don't measure my success in centimetres. I measure it by the size of the smile on my face.